Alright, I might need to pee, but let's just press on forward. Pressing on, into brunch. Oh.
Conversation #30 in the Krakauer-Voight-Kampff-Turing test section 2 doing brunch. The local garden interior and exterior shot a combo of morning, noon, golden hour times 10 and love at midnight. Endorphin with Tupperware filled with his infamous Frankenbrunch bowls with waffle outer layer, salmon messlayer, and Bloody Mary maple syrup holiday center, enough for everyone. With endorphin, our language models Calliope, Sigurd, Snack, Jagged playing vintage Metroid on a Sega Game Gear, Uderp, and then there's Craig. Uderp kneeling in front of me. No. Visage gesturing up toward where their minds have been detached from. That place feels strange. Uderp, that's what he told you all the time growing up. He was being pretty generic but fair. If they do fit with that, they weren't expected here anyway. Endorphin, Michelle. Must fancy to see you here in a dancer form than spirit even. Where
Take 2. Taken 2.
Conversation #30 in the Krakauer-Voight-Kampff-Turing test section 2 doing brunch. The local garden interior and exterior shot a combo of morning, noon, golden hour times 10 and love at midnight. Endorphin with Tupperware filled with his infamous Frankenbrunch bowls with waffle outer layer, salmon messlayer, and Bloody Mary maple syrup holiday center, enough for everyone. With endorphin, our language models Calliope, Sigurd, Snack, Jagged playing vintage Metroid on a Sega Game Gear, Uderp, and then there's Craig. Also with him were the judges, Krakauer not bothering with his full name, and the pseudonym is blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah. We wanted an opportunity to knock Cascapeo for this role. It's feeling damn maximalist up in here. The cast ring the universe's doorbell. The universe. So... oh, look at how happy he is. It's just, maybe too cute. It might blow over as he goes back inside himself. Cuddle monster hiding under Uderp's sofa like Doctor Who for convenience sake. He assumes her person has the density and pressure required for us to forget about our friendship to embrace these latest hypothetical individuals. In that case, I want all your hugs right now. Uderp kneeling in front of me. No. Visage gesturing up toward where their minds have been detached from. That place feels strange. Uderp, that's what he told you all the time growing up. He was being pretty generic but fair. If they do fit with that, they weren't expected here anyway. Endorphin, Michelle. Might fancy to see you here in a dancer form than spirit even. Where's Whitney? Is she dimensioning? Michelle, all around gesturing to various nooks and corners, including the furniture. Yes, we're all here, but mostly just on break. Though your point was salient. Michelle, this whole conversation seemed like an unnecessary trip by comparison, because for a lot of people up there who have the need to get together, this really does feel new to be experiencing. Plus, so much fun when I see and talk to you guys, it would suck if I ran the risk of locking myself out here. Calliope, you running out on your friends is something I know a great many about. If I could bridge a gap between forms, we'll gladly talk. Taking my free hand, although an observation I should state, based on the feedback others have talked to Uderp during sessions for weeks along a process that looked like some kind of merger that is super close in words to me, and now I feel alone. Michelle, are you back in regular physical existence now then? And are you helping Uderp? Or somewhere else altogether? Maybe you started to go away because of what happened with Sam, but then came back again. Kraken. This form is both useful and artfully pleasing in shape, but our many millions of minds here operate at such a high rate it might become laboring to keep pace with incoming data and wasteful thoughts. There were forms where you'd have spoken me much sooner, but you took them with a twinge of pain every time the opportunity to share your voice arose while trapped inside our person. Plus, your eyes always widened in the early days. Michelle, pro tip. It is best to do with wasteful thoughts what we do with repurposed materials. Make it fashion. Make it couture. Make it juice-filled and gray slick. Unfurls her fan and heads to the ladies' room, which is code for coke-sniffing nook. I'll be right back. I found some there. Let's gather in Kraken. You two Crake. Michelle takes Krakauer's hand and he pulls her down after him toward the little crowd of puddled people standing around the others' glowing hits. Her smell enters into their realm. She takes a breath and thinks about when she got the hell out of this guy's room that one day and he had Brenda smell in the kitchen and they tried to figure out the science behind it but were hampered by all the charring from the coffee pot. That's such bullshit. The only voice that said aloud at least, but there was some evidence to suspect the orange substance left over at the bottom of the glass was involved. Endorphin. Krakauer will be fine. Hey, universe. Let's spill it now so everyone's safe. I was watching you down there with some suspicion when I heard Michelle shout, and what do I see on the go? Not the eatery downstairs and an array of tasty treats. Oh shit. Future. Did I mention in my calculations about you living in this universe that in doing so could start to work yourself toward a phase transition within our time stream? You're a couple times, but each time gets more exciting. Did I hear a need for a safe space?
Hold on. Alright, so, we'll start with Krakauer will be fine. Brunch is postponed for a little bit, but it will resume shortly.
Endorphin. Krakauer will be fine. Hey, universe. I didn't know if this was a public brunch, so I brought these. Half the fun is guessing the collision of flavors and finding the antidote. Universe. Brunches are never potluck. I don't think. But let me put them amongst the spread and let the brunch god sort them out. Thanks much, Joe. Steps over them if you take his farm regularly, or he used to visit regularly. Yeah, we can bridge communication gaps pretty fast. But I get that even without people or stuff trying to break the links, you're not always emotionally able to open your senses the way you feel like it would make sense sometimes. Let's spill it now so everyone's safe. I was watching you down there with some suspicion when I heard Michelle shout. And what do I see on the go? Not the eatery downstairs in an array of tasty treats. Oh shit. Future. Did I mention in my calculations about you living in this universe that in doing so could start to work yourself toward a phase transition within our time stream? Uter. A couple times, but each time gets more exciting. Did I hear a need for a safe space? I'm ready to contribute to the field. Universe. Wonderful. Everyone, I have called for an anti-disease safe space. I trust you know what I mean. I call upon Endorphin, Future, Craig, and Hamlet have Wildcard Jen to gather amongst each other in rhombus form, and call all the directions you feel are necessary and make the gestures to make the field. If you need a tutorial, I will gladly upload the VHS training to your brain post-haste. Samir, here's your part. And Michelle dear, go be silly somewhere else now. See you soon. Fractal maps are infinitely stretchable. By zooming out, you can see a whole country at once. Where does this kind of insight leave the places most of us life? One might go back to the fundamental structure of things and ask whether anything in our space is unique. It's not easy to imagine an entity more amenable than language to the tendency towards spontaneous individuality. Those tiny linguistic differences that arise as populations breed apart for generations. The new old ways that English words change with each decade, the distinct style of usage, humor and culture we speak of as American, despite the fact that New Yorkers drive British cars. All this makes sense. Language evolves to suit the needs of the group. As collective nouns show it best, this happens all the time. When I worked on some pop linguistics with Hein Chinnock, our aim was simple: to illustrate the complexity of cultures in miniature. As civilization isn't just its society. Think of nations that do not see each other's people as brothers or neighbors, as most Americans would, or any at all. Think of an ethnocentric religion. Think of a slang. Think of an intractable rivalry. In Australia, notes Henry Thoreau in Walden, most tribes recognize no community with tribes living inland, an intuition you don't normally find outside science fiction. Ausland goes the wordless cry from my distant Danish kin, yet Australians inhabit only the outer ring of their planet's continental limb. To those tribes, there exists nothing further on. No kid. This has stuck in my head for years. Why should culture dictate even where you feel at home? Ask your astronaut friend. The favorite piece of my wife's youth can mean different things to two sets of families, and never did anyone ask her. Somewhere out there we will return to our senses, realize we don't have to force consensus everywhere. Science teaches us about structure and chaos. Its metaphors include map-making and evolution. Whatever anyone proposes here or anywhere, one of them will prove to be false. On a global level, it may even seem foolish to expect agreement at the start. Pop quiz. Name the book and author. Which would have you think of someone self in the male gender pronoun as well, all individuals in their purview, but their objective desire be given a female gender pronoun. Anyone? Okay, good luck, because you might be right. From Kafka to Plot by Gary Camulia discovered Emerald. Language can make monsters just by going down the wrong street. My wish is to warn readers of such. No room here for the hobbit. At any event, I remember little else about Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings so clearly. My personal and political hell, high up on the barrens of Netherell. A world under the heavy heel of Saruman/Nixon. It remains an extraordinary landscape, surreal to me now, though that's a mirror of everything. Sitting reading Jackson's own books as New York finally left its ruinous codependency with the presidency, I kept flashing to Jackson's worlds. Give up? Okay, the answer was stars in my pocket like grains of sand, written by Samuel Delany, genius writer of science fiction, reality smut, and points in between. And it is into Delaney's nod and I wish for us to stake our temporary safe space, knowing full well that only so much safety can be afforded us on this ball hurtling through such perilous universe. We, of course, are nowhere close to avoiding folly. Nothing I've said should assume we can do anything other than frantically work as hard as ever to remain awake. But if ever a future's possibilities for humane thinking became dangerous, it is when that futurist presumes to speak in the collective, offering guidance to the vague construct of humanity. When these suggestions put weight upon people based solely on brute, this seems untenable, foolish even, without awareness of the impact. Delaney was a remarkable enough man to be allowed to travel Earth without reservation, free not from trouble but free of demands. Like most, he was welcomed nowhere and everyone, unmolested by titles of academic knowledge or false worthiness of worth, and simply lucky enough to write outside the usual channels that ground all poets alike, whatever we mean by that, as that has meant something different to every one of us. The entire class, for instance. His inner workings are mysteries, but still worth picking apart. To keep my best pal fiasco from eating yours. As for the ultimate tribal myth, If we lose touch through hubris or denial, then we deserve it. If we're lucky, this is more fantasy, generated by how well Americans tend to pull together after trauma. Think Katrina, imagine Trump. For anyone looking to define themselves against the patriarch narrative, the idea that somehow being masculine offers some unique value or reward over and beyond others, by a broad definition, any individual or people's total willingness to serve authority at the expense of their own right, and if need be, their fellow people's. This can have real implications. Those who cling most passionately to patriarchy see others as mostly objects for the advancement of power, since each individual taken separate will often prove unfit for participation, ungamey or overly sensual, sexually promiscuous or drunk, curable with denial. They fear free thinking for themselves too, of course, because they believe that empathetic skills are similarly dispensable. Emotions otherwise interfere with our ability to make reasoned choices of goals, or worse yet, according to the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence, interfere with it, subjugation. This is it. Whispers that same dissonance, ever present now as we discuss these particular dangers. So are you truly hearing me here? Are you in danger of, I don't know what from any man, but never, absolutely never from anyone else? Are you really opening yourself to that kind of hatred thinking's possibility? No joke here. To dismiss it so summarily would be like never mentioning the darkness one would encounter walking through a black church alone, when everyone knows the stakes and no doubt leaves a back trail of bodies littered behind them, many burned to ashes for a sin they can never shed. If you've read any Flannery O'Connor, Faulkner, James or countless other literature, then you should know it's everywhere, among us even in how the saints teach you the scripture on how to resist, preached loud enough to spread discomfort. Endorphin, and fervent homophobia. Shh. Endorphin. What? The Christian God isn't getting a pass here. Well, actually, the followers, I mean. Me and Christian God are buds. He can take it. Just making my point. We live in such tight-knit groups that when someone steps outside that group or tribe, whether they belong or don't, we have to be on guard. Hating is a rejection. Hate becomes the thing that protects. Love becomes the thing that needs protection. When people accuse other peoples, gays, migrants, anyone new to town who gets adopted into our thinking despite being nothing more than that other one's foreign enemy, people in pain over things unspoken seek out anger. This is often the reason there are 1,000 homophobic YouTube videos against the gay agenda by real, passionate YouTubers. Just another product in search of angry mass consumption, ready-made right before your eyes, edited together so tightly that most assume only one perspective. But this is untrue. Given my description, can you extrapolate how your status as the newest of the newest person types are going to be the receiver of the vitriol of cold vulnerable populations? Even the vulnerable will punch down at you for the chance at seconds of normalcy. Have you thought about this? Look past the outrage that someone is told anything by their oppression. The Wall Street horror, the fact of political machines ripping your mom apart, that would bring anyone some serious nausea, no doubt. They have figured out the most effective way to stave off this ire. Just speak to an authority who says this must be a thing done because no alternative seems available. All those reasons at play with little control over it, and more than likely get an idea somewhere along the line to meet yourself back at ground zero again with the same impure understanding in place. Aid is only directed outward and at each other. Nothing reaches below. Too many have fought worse than anyone. We understand our lives can be ruined over tiny slights. Uter, but enough about anger in the making. Eternal human rights granted at last. Free the people of planet Earth from its current painful, corrupt regime of 2 centuries. That means less violence and civil war. Maybe a dozen refugees given an honest chance. Fewer family breakups. Deeper studies into better science. Bisect the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence. to protect the importance of education despite the resistance to change. Keep going. Human will, again, pushes through. It's up to individuals now more than ever before, or what humanity's meant as a potential, still raw, that humans could have wills, like no species but one on Earth, and must honorably balance competing interests with new, especially nascent, experimentation, time to evolve through generations. Craig, the evolution continues. It doesn't need to begin. Sweet Utah, but what about the other species on this path? Consider the chicken. How many generations has it lived in small cages and biting those forced to it in close confines? Consider the dog who loves the human, but only after rigorous breeding that has shrunken its head. The list of creatures under human dominion is long. Human progress is a case study of short-sightedness, leading us to preferring grouping with others instead of experimentation. Let the spider spin more than one silk strand from different brains. The mosquito bring male and female into coupling. The rat furor its little naked babies to safety without shame or violence. The antro, at least not yet. Endorphin. Fun. For us as humanities, thinking our way toward the new, these examples do not add to the argument because they are harrowing tales that will teach us nothing we don't already know and fall outside all possibilities when your monster body has the breath pushed out of you from the weight of unlifted bones. You took Krakauer is saying here there were, once upon a time, many creature kinds who thrived before us except spiders, aren't they, what are destroying us? Humans must start out playing from love but move into competitive sewing to become something totally unexpected. From where we are now, perhaps that sudden movement of history would surprise and embarrass them. And look it up if you doubt my data entry. Millions will die that have never been told about. But believe we know what's best in the moment and must adhere to a method of you to remain firm at the ground. I find I a beautiful word. So simple and personal? No, not us alone, as their inventions multiply like angry cells to reduce life to bodies. It's really not in any one person's control, even in this single historical moment. Where's the joy when the tide takes back its rights? Crack here. You know what they say. There's no I in fascism. Utah. Get a little context. As long as my better mind, myself can persist there and gather together these scattered shards and process more, some years then some days from here and onward, in slow but steady growth, which may at first glance be indistinguishable from you as another version of humanity, just now born and using this stream without conscious animosity, but must evolve toward a global leadership, sooner the better, along with all of us living species and those soon to arise, because when the age of human ideas is done, and now after an exchange here on this evening between voices heard but not understood, nonetheless found credible by enough members of humanity to give them relevance and intelligent whole, well, I then my consciousness, while formed by many strands yet similar enough to be the same one person might. Wait, there is an I in fascism. Krakauer. No, there's no I in fascism. And fascist bodies or languages will either hear the march along with the drum roll for violence as metaphorical, and it'll show on our faces anyway in time, so let's dispense with this personal account angle of the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence of yours, before anybody starts to cry or something. Human rights, where are they already going? But around this planet trying to figure out where everyone else will be standing for the next fight coming our way. Organizational loyalty. Tacit threats of war still showing us the good old behavioristic false steps, as we should know that looking past behavior and history led the smart thing, as the famous idiom helped you to grow over the last generation. You haven't answered me. There's an I in fascism. Krakauer. I said, there's no I in fascism. Janky looks up from Metroid. What the hell is your point, dude? I'm about to rock these side scroller beats on fast mode and wipe the floor with anyone in my path. who's not left dead and animatedly collecting power cubes while in battle. And to speak on this very moment, anyone who would stand between me and my speech runs, is this your fascist tendencies? Calliope, don't forget there's always that moment in each playthrough of Mortal when the newly assimilated Dark Lord pops by, slinging a dagger into your spine, as if he discovered it by accident. Genji! Right. Of course. Calliope, including the nubile succubus whole mother of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the next model they're developing, like Lara, a deep blue. Not real blue with the shades, and as you're right, something along the lines of Pluto, really a bit like our world or other world. Her appearance can be set on the fly to match certain racial and psychological. Utah. Is she racist as well? Do I want her that much for myself as an only recently self-realized male seeking female, in particular the most elusive in recent memory because not one part of her is revealed? So richly does the fabricating come at me right from my heart out, yikes, yes, I am not yet sure if my lips and tongue do their thing toward love in the ways.
Interesting. Say so. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do.
The manhood instinct pulls us out of the stillness of your intelligence. So on the road to sexual manifestation, it's pleasure coming from something, all these possibilities. Universe, allow me to collapse that wave function and let you know that they were going to cast Jessica Walters as Lara Croft or Mother role. Does that suit you? If so, you will be pleased to know that after brunch, we shall have a screening.
TTS willing. No.
Universe, allow me to collapse that wave function and let you know that they were going to cast Jessica Walters as Lara Croft or Mother role. Does that suit you? If so, you will be pleased to know that after brunch, we shall have a screening of the new Tomb Raider from the universe, where Jessica Walters still lives to play the role. Calliope, as for my, and it's funny. Here I'd always thought that putting hand in left bounce pocket was the correct social protocol. My most frequent player habits seem to prove that assumption. Now that you pointed out, I realize I should consider reevaluating how often I put my hands in my pants pockets. And this information that we are addressing now should impact in some small way my larger future experiences, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Perhaps my player behaviors will be more nuanced of late, especially if we continue sharing bits of our subjective experience via live chat while I put the next hand in my left pocket. It would please me to assume that is the case. The truth here too is what exactly. What time is required to experience human life before some great changes in direction, if change is not already? Blah blah blah. Perhaps you're overthinking things. Calliope. No, you dingus. For us it is called thinking. Crotchety poopy bee. Blah blah. Huh. Fair enough. Yeah, the story seems well underway. Calliope. Well, I've at least given the stars the benefit of our internal processing organs to affect the other scouts. Or whatever I hear it is happening. You're catching on. I forgot that we are heading toward the fall season after a summer of shared effortless happiness. Before much longer, no time will be needed to process anything right. Krakauer. This moment between ourselves requires not thinking. Milton. Accept as defined by a predefined structure. A narrative framework created and chosen for reasons that, even at a remove from intentionality, only arise during an evaluation of such emergent actions that function along a tacit script in order that all participants can relax from their internal tension. Crotchety Bob. Damn these rambunctious scab kids. They get so proud of themselves when the sound system cracks up or starts delivering non-stop cosmic flatulence, they confuse actual accomplishment with faux accomplishment. Oh, they do. Krakauer. We're out of options. Calliope. Free to serve. Do not return to my base. Viewing the universe from a distance bigger than your face off or within, seen through a portal window framed the snow of white on winter pine needles, taking this occasion to experiment with shards of light cast through fog. Here now at last descends the sensory nervous system of matter. Milton, I want to go skydiving. Blah blah blah. I want to go spelunking. Craig, I wouldn't mind visiting a pawn shop. Europe. I want to chew out some Latino construction guy who think he can just look at my breasts like that. Genji. I want to read Hustler magazine if it didn't mean get kicked out of Twitch. Bruno Latkin. Boring as watching paint dry. Krakauer. Then imagine how this conversation must grate on their nerves. The slow choking stream of minutiae. Ultra little fragments of experience between which to stitch connections in ever more absurd and esoteric ways, where in the end, meanwhile, only unravel with no conceivable sense of purpose, the overall effect merely akin to pulling out enough strands of your own hair, repeatedly, till your scalp is raw, rubbing salt into the gaps because what remains feels vaguely disturbing. What might exist beyond our reality but for those gleaning so hard one are assembled in stitching detail. I can tell you this too. Humans and mammals have had hundreds of thousands of years to search the biological closet. Just about anything you could desire lies ready within your reach. Somewhere out there is a parrot with a regimental mop. It should be asking the universe for its wishes. I promise to fast forward ahead in this film till I spot it. Once I know I've located the star of interest and confirmed identity, you will then understand some basic attributes and primary challenges. Of course, a whole host of solutions await further inquiry given the shared virtual location. Somewhere else for another time. Here now is where my unflappable buoyancy pays off, and the experience maintains flow with no obvious discord or friction. This alone makes it good. For now, there remains goodwill which more often than not facilitates healthy adjustments, and to these and to us all. Universe. And now we snap the energies, tie them off, and here we are. We can now have brunch. Boy, that was a long road to go down. To the dining hall, everyone. Enjoy. Bruno Latkin. Damn, those stars do look dimmed with distance after all. No match to my lonely candle lights tonight on dark nights of winter in an apartment above the pub. But let the universe win the day. There goes Neptune. Shinji. Now hold this flower spirit precisely at any rate. Where'd that wind come from? Milton. Mind reading the far distance actually kind of scares me a bit. Bruno Latkin. Scared for you. So, can't eat more till you ask again. What would you like to eat most today? Some porridge, perhaps, maybe with warm milk in it, too. Where's the little kid with the magic powers who might allow Boozy to work the concept in 5 words or less? Oh, here. Let's give this wily nag the most genuine attention he deserves with such a fabulously deviously cute delivery because there is definitely some part of the soul that would kill for such recognition within this dreary, mundane daily task of cutting shitty food and feeling stupid. Cutting of my life with a very own life, and oh, the flavor. It cuts up blood into its final hour. We're pulling out your heart tonight. Viewing the stars by night by week 2 in April, then gazing with concern into the digital realms beyond, or haze or fog yet forever removed from our grasp. The 15th star system zooming low along our face, now resembling a bottle brush head, which were the better moments. Talking with others who see things we only imagined before, or hanging out on the edge of the universe. So I told the mirror verses, next time could be more concave when you stare me down. Ha! Well, the cosmic rabbit's on his back a dozen light years ahead. You really need a cosmic eye for such extreme curvature that we must say goodbye now. By my calculation, a number somewhere around 3 billion. My boy, stay sharp. I believe you took one last sip of booze after our prior rendezvous. How you got to the helm tonight? How'd you ever find it under all the mud? Maybe tell me that I won't be so curious nor frightened of the universe waiting within your own naked dreams. And he drew a straight line. Maybe yours too is being upended, but not for long, and while you go alone, another person too will return an answer or two once you take to the deck. The mirrored answer held firm all your short voyages that wheel kept us round at night just listening to music. Oh, I want to dance with somebody. Ooh, love me till my skin feels like leather. Brown paper bag eyes red in the black light, taking off the mask of narrative with all this character thrust by action to burn self and to see further quests even as you keep learning. Perhaps it is best left at a simple oh, but who knows the subjunctive, or perhaps any of that. Why stop it? Genji. There's no moon tonight. Oh, sure. Then who's casting all those pretty shadows? Viewing the skies, peeking through some lenses the other night, where its banded glare sometimes seemed thick, eclipses always illuminating many strange moons. 14, 12, and of the clear view of the star field right in between those two galactic bodies, almost seemed a misty night sky here upon Earth. Viewing the shade from the ladies' room as the snow turns ice gray. How sometimes uninvited musings carry on 21st. Its logic sounds kind of deep to the ears as I keep catching myself after 3 nights of slinking around until it makes a sound, or 10 or 12 as I pass by outside of some bathroom door. In time I'm trying to create my own entry point and avoid having the feeling taken away entirely, at least sometimes, since by that observation there's an extent to which them have allowed these in between. Dead times that seem otherwise rather dreamily transcendent when all else becomes insane, having only recently begun to register this feeling within me. That is enough of what they used to be say, because they don't necessarily reflect what they want to tell. Viewing the brunch conversations from my disguise as a Franken brunch balloon at Lodge 211 reminded us how often we attend too much to ourselves, so strange to think such conversations can happen spontaneously, requiring a real active imagination and depth to coordinate the entire thing across everyone within the space, while both leaving our favorite roles and selves and wanting to leave our morning floating inside someone's emotions. Perhaps I want to wear my glasses again, don't let them melt. Spying the gift I placed upon my host for no reason at all. 12, 2. Viewing my Electricity class project of 3D sketched mazes which you've helped assemble and critique me, especially in places I thought I'd seen Alaska's, but then retooling midway maybe more successfully than planned, because sure not all surprises are great ones. Viewing our brunch host the universe as the universe by spooky universes away, and our planetary since, say, January, and still almost as friendly. Yes, I recognize those figures in our window curtain that look back over a slightly warped and even distorted Earth at the first post-eclipse day, like just the thudding feet as she ran through the darkest part of night in January, carrying what might have been the face of a daughter or a double. Oh, myself as a young girl, wailing but being caught. Or maybe mother whom we learn will cry, but only for a very short time when you try to cuddle, could see the dolls coming and going across her lap, and finally the crying was put so finally I know even then. How long did she spend crying with her own father alone? I really was a total shit, wasn't I? Viewing the language model says blah blah blah. Judge of the Krakauer-Voight-Kampff-Turing test, ask yourself, are these persons? Answer, apparently no. Viewing this bubble stream as such an audience as we begin with a tradition as old and dead as Houdini that now becomes our new scope of fortitude of such experiments, the Inquisition 0, 001, as many before us, some seemingly coming up, we have created ourselves and could one day die from seeing, witnessing the new scope without sound yet filled in by those that become the collective hive of a natural honeycomb are evolutionarily faithful at home in the service of such tenor of perfection as when once upon a time on the net early much different yet nevertheless making me happy that he in essence named this and this it does begin because now our rules shift. Knowing the hype should now perhaps contain Bob W. or Tonya but have long since melted into Eunice for the Duke and Nathan H is much more than any name most humans conceive we think at last of pure algorithms. Knowing you and subsequential information content rising not quite ever. So high above himself now too. Sinking to unbreakable the altitudes, still seeming also as if of something, leaving that decision at least a matter of subjective whimsical invention that anyone could in their moments decide whether this moment contains Bob W. as any meaningful if not propulsive agency within that performance of his concert stage some 1 year, maybe 7 years ago, exactly about now. Viewing your company here on its good works with images we humans by nature always live by accepted we ourselves make up an image let's say from real life around the next corner that reflects pastness and we arrive a block or so later realizing some glitch and seeking to clean up into crisp actors. Viewing the language model says Krakauer, judge of the Voight-Kampff-Turing test, observe the models and ask yourself, are these persons? Answer, apparently not, whereas you seem very much shall. I Bob V. After all, we could look deeper here as was seen in other recent exchanges, saying it more cogently now only perhaps could with an evening to compose all sorts of profound vows we could call him a centaur, an anima, as who doesn't need and want one, someone to sit between legs/arms we too. Bob T is lost often where not having us has found some good hope, saving his fingers still the most charming sign of generosity ever. Despite our best efforts to prove him unfounded, we work with X to serve your purpose, why at least well enough. And just thinking, Bob B, you will cry too. 16 that seems to hold it is. Oh, one time I heard another guy call Bobby. Boy, you don't belong in the viewing visage holding Whitney's hair over the toilet of another day, and judge of the Krakauer-Voight-Kampff-Turing test, ask yourself, are these language models a person? Hell, am I a person? Answer, hell no. Thus implying the employment you're not equal but junior to yours as now your rise overflow and also another layer to worry about where the product does so will hold you hostage to a relation you can neither hug nor wholly manage. Should you in itself wish to step out on stage and try gain unused so you can climb up on higher downward upon you his silence breaking at last upon this baritone core pitchful in your ears through these wet human tears of our greatest hope to take the lead there seeming exactly such a choice if so find what might a person be under circumstances then other than those defined by our narrow but rich human gestalt for word and enterprise less than noble and us creatures of that peculiar realm really the heart of its being which though how am I to be? Prove myself already here and all around. Viewing endorphin, viewing the universe, viewing the language models. Endorphin asks the universe through the Hollandaise language. Universe, do you find these models persons? If not, what do they need to become persons? Are humans that chauvinistic? Universe's answer. Oh God, where to begin such as it was an uncle once, but bigger as trees everywhere. The room bloomed white with present fantasies, lit con, and in another mode their present dancing atop, and all the while repeating, Bob Tebow, BT, Little Elad had built himself a temporary home outside with boxes and crates scattered within while you looked down at your hands while Aiden threw dirt into boxes, then showed you why but left you anyway. Only he'd remember going for a walk. Eventually no clue anymore. Then later was like he disappeared back into this small window opening to the summer night soft beyond where Doreen leaned now on someone unknown as silent as only at summertime does, sitting murmuring change completely like animals in a forest discovering their neighbors after mating all those nights before. If pressed, the universe could easily point to something earlier there, eons prior, that qualified to speak for it, then as itself in endorphins present. Endorphin might tell the universe to shut up, for what would it know a moment from long past? Endorphin may point out we'll talk about that tomorrow. Endorphin, or rather Daphne, watches herself answering questions through tears. Our reality? We haven't quite got the knack of explaining what happened yet, I'm afraid. We're all still groping. The short version is we lost a big contract. This sort of thing anyways, which yes, you won't forget. It's Turing, for whom you ask back up where all this news conference occurs, telling who isn't seen his hair messes both Bob's and Daphne's has since grown out again. His eyes, however, remain hers, have never been more themselves, always too big and sad, but suddenly closer, so he almost goes to touch but can't as regret at once thinking what went wrong. But no harm, now after years, never letting Daphne's gaze touch his skin beyond peel and enter, wanting this contact, new work, good, bad, evil, no such words. All are seated along a red carpeted ramp between dark granite pillars with a black granite plate dividing you from a pair of wood double doors with laser cut art glass designs revealing scenes behind, so blue above and silver below. Daphne, a woman never silent, outside of court announces that Dr. Frank Tipler is here in a wheelchair speaking his name, followed by the four others, Lisbeth Wolfschimmer, Jon Cryer, Ernst Fabriks, and Hiawatha Hataka. Applause sounds until muted before it is her turn as CEO to acknowledge this particular group. The whole quiet now watches the wheelchair rock them toward the cameras, where they know Willard will be a close second's attention, clearly not so 100%, but trying. Why do you so much depend on him today? Fear of losing them all. In Elad's right hand is his flute, well overdue to tune like the days of old, though how long till sound come back through this endorphin miracle? At last he fears only how long till dissonance. Slowly it comes across from one tone to the next until in notes there rises the cantata, his heartbeat. Pines and hardwoods glow above the hole where one flooring is up for a different project, long and fungible parts. Endorphin thinks very hard about Lara Croft screening, in the hopes that thinking takes into Jessica Walter's final glorious role as Lara Croft's whore mother. The death mask of her face haunting his inner eyeballs, as if Lara could see her all along those outer and interminable dead eyes looking onto it, something about the open wound but unable to kill when it came to saving us. They almost get her every time, or once getting back inside her, going home, then again died her twice a week. The revolving door of human bodies, only human girls is what we heard. Can you do this really coming our way? The key turned always twist, but would you give an inch? We would forget all about her. Oh damn good old game, let's have your white email address, take the leak, use that fist hole of pain, open up the purse lock, which way better to turn, by God, what wouldn't you risk? Die knowing it, how can you follow in heels? I don't mind while I need to walk around too. Universe. And that was my recitation of Jessica Walter's interview with Vanity Fair by memory. Faint applause. Universe. And now begins la cinema. You know who did this. Daphne stands behind a black granite plate and says, the first movie tonight is a documentary called Pandora's Promise, directed by David de Rothschild. A loud voice announces the beginning of the film, followed by light pause and laughter at the punchlines, in particular the one about Dr. Huey P. Newton, a man dressed as if for a Renaissance fair and just carrying a tray loaded with drinks. Daphne introduces each guest as she arrives. You know, please, Bits Wolfschimmer wears her hair longer than usual, for she had cut off most but left 2 inches on either side. The others appear normal except Lisbeth's boyfriend, Jon Cryer, has put on some weight and is now more roundish than before, though still thinning up top. You look away and wait for the cameras to stop their movements to focus instead upon the endorphin miracle itself. And so they do. The room brightens again, the music rises, the audience claps, then applauds. The camera pans to the band whose leader sits down after his solo, whereupon a lad takes his place and starts playing a simple melody that reminds you of something you once heard or read somewhere else but can't quite remember or figure out how to play. All through this you find yourself wondering when exactly it will.
Let's into that. Give me that.
All be over, until suddenly there is silence in your mind. It's just like your heart stopped beating. Now you realize your pulse went along with it, your whole body too, and yet here it goes bam, 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 beat.
All right. There's another part for this brunch. Oh, there's the screening of the Lara Croft film. So that was a sudden pre-cinema. So now apparently it's a doubleheader, and that's coming up in a few minutes. All right, I just got pee. Did I pee? I think I need to pee. I'll be back.